But yeah, I, what I do now is I'm a self-proclaimed DC historian. I run a DC Decades platform where I've made it well-rounded. So because a lot of the pages that do what I do, similar to what I do, and not just in DC, the DC area, the states, New York, Philly. You get a lot of the the stuff from the streets during that era, early, that 80s era that just
Hmm.
can't get out of our heads, you know what I
Yep.
mean? But I've tried. I kind of started out that way a little bit, but I navigated into what DC was all about. And we have a lot of history, a lot of unique jewels, and I've tried to bring that to the forefront because while a lot of crack epidemic was going on, it's a reality. We were still having fun at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I've tried to bring those great memories to the forefront, and everybody gets it. You
We
know what I mean?
love it.
Yeah, everybody gets it, and I'm grateful for that because that was my purpose. I wasn't thinking about making money from it or anything like that from in the beginning. Of course, you want to monetize some things,
Yeah,
of course
that
later on,
comes
but
that, that
it,
comes a lot. Like you
yeah,
said, you do it from your heart first, and then the
yeah,
monetization comes.
yeah. So I'm very passionate about it. So it's been some great things that have come from it, just that platform alone. But
I'm
that's
so
pretty
excited.
much what I do now. And now, I'm giving back to the community, and I'm making sure because I wanted to get to a point where I could have the type of community events that I believe that the city truly needs.
Yes,
So that's been my main focus recently.
yes, yes, yes. But the road to becoming who you are now
Hmm.
was not a pretty picture.
At all, at all. So you want to go back the
As far, as
background?
as far back as you're comfortable going back.
Oh yeah, I'm very transparent about what happened to me. Of course, I got caught up again as I repeat the crack epidemic doing and I pretty much I was never really a block boy. I used to work off of my beeper when I was in the streets. So I might go down on the block, hang out with the homies for a little while, but I would go away. I was never crew oriented.
Okay.
I grew up in the First and Kennedy Street uptown area,
Did you have both
and
of your parents?
no, I'm single mother.
Okay.
Uh, so I knew I met my father, like, so he would spend some time with me when I think the last time my father actually really spent some ample time with me, I was like 9 years old. So after I was like 9, 10, he just disappeared. And the next time I actually saw him was when I was in the hospital. And let me tell you how I got in the hospital. So
Mm.
I was I was doing my thing pretty much from 15 to 21 to the time I got shot, and always kept a job. No, I was back then you didn't want your parents to know what you were doing as much as you could. You wanted them to think you were an angel.
And so that was your
That,
situation. So you wanted your mom to think that you weren't doing anything in the street.
yeah, I
You
didn't want
think
to
she
break.
knew?
She knew. She knew. I didn't, but I think she, you know, I can't explain it. I can't explain with my mother because she never really confronted me, because I was obviously so good at keeping it from her. I didn't catch charges. If I did catch, if I got arrested or something, I didn't get convicted or anything. I just thought I was the slick one. I was slipping through the cracks pretty much for
Hmm.
years, um, getting away with a lot of stuff. So I guess this was the setup for what was going to happen to me because by the time I turned 19, I started going. I was never. I grew in my area. I didn't stay in my area where I grew up. I had so many. I had family and a lot of friends in other parts of the city, northeast, southeast. So I would frequent those areas, and then I started. Once I was hanging over southeast almost every day.
Hmm.
I, I used to get over there early in the morning and doing stuff with my cousins and them, and you know, we just got crazy. We were just thriving off of the fear, the power that was coming with what we were doing, and you know, the violence came with that, and I got away with a few things, and when the day I got shot, it was December 22nd, 1992. I had told my girlfriend at the time, and I was, you know, she was working in Georgetown. And I told her I'd be there to pick her up, and I didn't go to pick her up like I was supposed to.
This was 92?
This was right before Christmas, 1992.
Okay.
I didn't go to pick her up like I was supposed to, and like an hour later, I went around, you know, not far from Baloo, 4th Street Southeast, and we were threatening somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it was some younger dudes around there that they already had an issue with us, but we didn't think they were gonna come at us like that because they, you know, they were younger, and that's that arrogance.
I was going to say the arrogance that.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of them, I was with my cousin, so one of them had enough heart to come up on us, so that he came up behind me. So I felt him, you know, you feel somebody, and I had a weapon on me. Mm-hmm. So I tried to, when I heard him, I reached for my weapon, but that's why I tell people all the time, even if you got a gun on you, you know, somebody can get you if it's the day if they got enough heart to get you. You know, he got the drop on. I turned around, and the next thing I knew, I heard gunshots when I turned around. I didn't even know I got hit. All I remember is I heard gunshots.
Really?
Yeah, I heard gunshots, and I woke up in the hospital, Terry.
So wait, you said you felt something, like you felt someone coming up on you?
Mm-hmm. He ran up on us. And I felt him. I felt, you know, you feel somebody, you know, I heard him. I heard somebody running, but I felt him. I felt his energy. You know, it was just, I can't explain that, but it's, you know how you feel somebody coming up on you, somebody's walking up behind you. I was already alert anyway from being around where we were.
Right.
That was just the streets. So I turned around, but when I turned around, that's when he struck. Obviously, you know. So that's I didn't feel anything. I didn't even know when I woke up. I woke up in DC General, and they told me that I got shot. I couldn't even talk because where I got shot in the back of the head, like right at the bottom of the back of my head. Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Terry. So when I woke up, all I could do was blink my eyes, you know. And so they asked me, did I know what happened to me? And blink once for yes and two for no or something like that. So I blinked twice because I could hear them, and I blinked. I didn't know what happened to me, so they told me what happened to me, and I was confused, you know what I mean? But I couldn't move. So the reason I couldn't move is because they told me I was paralyzed. You know what I mean? And they've had to put me on the breathing machine, the ventilator. I had to, you know, so they said, we're hoping that you're going to pull through. We're hoping that you're going to make it through the night. We've contacted your mother, your sister, some other friend, you know, whoever the family members were at the time. My grandmother, but that was it. So I had to sleep. You know, they had to stay in the hospital all night to see if I was going to pull through.
So what?
And you know.
So you were supposed to go pick up your girlfriend that night, though, right?
That night. That night. That's what I was supposed to be doing instead of going over where
so
we
I'm
were.
assuming she's also wondering what the hell, like
yeah.
Because we didn't have you didn't have a cell phone, did you?
No, just my beeper. So you know she was paging and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So and that my cousin.
So you weren't by yourself. Where were
No, yeah, he didn't make it. He killed him on the spot. Yeah, but he thought he killed me because I obviously fell out. You know, when I got hit, I was out, and I probably looked dead on the ground, but I made it. You know, I got the ambulance got there on time, obviously to save me. It just wasn't my time to go, Terry. So you know what I mean. You know, it was divine intervention because by the time I got to they got me to the hospital, and it was enough to get me hooked up to the machines and everything else that they need to do. You know, in ICU in the intensive care unit.
But your
Yeah.
cousin didn't make it.
Nah, he didn't make it. He didn't
And
make it. Yeah. So
you probably weren't go to his service. Right?
say again, Terry.
Were you able to? You weren't able to even go.
Nah, I was in the hospital for a year. Yeah. I was in the hospital for a year. So I was in DC General for a couple of months. So they had to, uh, you know, they told me I was gonna never. After the swelling went down, you know, they could see better, you know, what was going on with my condition, and they told me more than likely that I wasn't going to be able to walk again. You know, I was 21, and you know, I accepted my fate. I said, "This is the cards I have been dealt." Obviously, you know, and I couldn't do anything anyway. I couldn't do nothing but blink my eyes. So, you know, I had to stay in there for 2 months. So, as my swelling went down, where my injury was on my left side, they could see better. So I started getting better. You know, I started to get my speech back. My vocal cords started to heal. So I could talk before I went over to the rehab hospital. So while I was in intensive care, um, I they also had, my neck was broke. So they also had to put that, you know what a halo is? The cage, it looks like a cage. So they screw it into I got two little spots still on the top of my forehead. They have to screw. It looks like something out of it's gothic looking, but it's a cage that they put on your head so you won't be able to move, so your neck can heal properly. So I had to wear that. They had put me in that, but by the time I got out of ICU, I was able to go to the bathroom. You know, I could use. I was continent. I was incontinent at first, so I was able to. I had continence of my you know, bowels and things like that. I know this sounds
On your,
terrible,
so you were able to start going on your own, is what you're saying.
yeah. By the time I had left and got over to the NRH, the rehab hospital, the hospital that's across from Washington Hospital Center,
Yeah.
that's where they sent me, and that's what I did the rest of my tenure in that hospital. So while I was in there, when I first got there, I was like really mean. I was frustrated. Uh, you know, the therapist. I had a physical therapist and I had an occupational therapist. So they used to try to get me to come down. They wanted to put me in a wheelchair to take me downstairs to try to do this therapy. And I would reject it every time because, like, the doctor had already, I believed the doctor when they told me I wasn't going to be able to walk.
You believed it?
At first. I did. I accepted it. And I was like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of taking me downstairs to do whatever? You know,
So you were disgruntled and you were giving them some attitude?
Yeah, I was cussing them out real bad.
Really?
I was a terrible patient at first when I first got to the rehab hospital. Even my neighbor, because it was somebody else in the room with me, and they, you know, they expressed how much they didn't like me or whatever. I was negative, and I was always cursing. Yeah.
So pause right there. What do you feel that those? What do you feel those feelings were coming from? What do you feel like was the source of you feeling like that?
My age, that I was still young. I couldn't believe what happened to me. I couldn't believe somebody got the drop on me. I was arrogant. Uh, you know, I just couldn't believe I was in that situation.
Right.
And they got me like that. I was like thinking, damn, if I got shot, why couldn't I get shot in the leg or the arm or something? You know, my first time getting shot, I go all the way down.
All the way down.
You know what I mean? This is it. I'm gonna be in a wheelchair. So You know,
You were
from being athletic and just going where I want to go, not depending on nobody ever and things like that. All that was hitting me at the same time, and I just was taking it out on the people that were trying to take care of me, which happens a lot in hospitals. You know, I've seen it even to this day, and that's what was going on. So I had to really take some time. It took me about 3 months. I had to start having out of body experience. I had to start getting in touch with my spirituality while I was in the hospital, and I would talk to myself. I would listen. You know, we love music, Terry. So
yeah.
I had my mother bring me, you know, radio so I could turn on the Quiet Storm and, you know, just meditate. You know, I started really just, you know, trying to think positive thoughts. And I just said, you know what, this can't be what it is. This can't be it for me. So I, you know, I apologized after, you know, some time went by, and I apologized to my therapist, and you know, they understood. They deal with
Because
that.
they deal with that all
You
the
know,
right.
and I had to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist that's in the hospital. You know, they send you, and so once I talked to him, and I just started feeling better. And once I started feeling, this is why I believe in, you know, mind over matter in a lot of cases, Terry, because once I started feeling positive, I believe my mind started to control what was going on with me physically. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you, so like a couple of weeks went by, my left leg started moving. Yeah, yeah. So that's all it took, Terry. That time when my legs started moving, it's all it took. So that inspired me to say, you know what, I'm gonna walk
I'm gonna
again.
walk
I'm
again.
gonna walk again, and that's from that day on. I was I was on it.
You was determined.
Yeah, from there I was on it. I was on it, and I did everything the therapist would tell me. You know, it's some stuff that it wasn't so easy, of course, but I had to fight through that. You know, I had a lot in pain. You know, I started getting my feeling back, so I started feeling pain and things like that. So it was a lot of pain involved. I was getting like shots every day. You know, they shoot you up and you know, pain relievers and stuff like that. So it was a lot going on while I was in the hospital. But I pushed through, and you know, I walked out of there. I walked out of the hospital with a cane, but I came out of there.
But when you were
After yeah,
discharged, you walked.
yeah, I walked out of
And
there.
after being shot in the back of the head,
Yeah,
left for
yeah,
dead,
yeah,
and told that you would never walk again.
yeah. It's look, the doctors. I even because at the time, once I got out, you know, they would call me back to, you know, try to motivate, you know, some of the residents that the same thing had happened to them. You know, maybe not as bad as mine, but a lot of them, you know, because it made me think about now, especially from that point on now, and when I see people in wheelchairs, you know, you just never know the situation. But I'm like, damn, did they have that chance? I always think, did they have that opportunity that they don't even realize they might have had if they didn't give up?
To
You know
will
what I mean? So,
yourself
because
back. You, when I say will, WILL,
mm,
will yourself back. Because, like
mm,
I said, once you changed your mindset,
yeah, yeah,
started thinking positive, and then you felt that whatever that leg, you willed
yeah,
yourself through your belief, through
absolutely,
your determination and your desire to fulfill your purpose.
absolutely.
Like
I
you
agree
said,
100%.
said this can't. This okay. This
Yeah, I couldn't believe. And Terry, I was an arrogant dude. You know what I mean? Back then, I was like, you know, a lot of us were that came up during that time. You know, we were just, you know, always had to have the freshest clothes. You know the story. Had to have the freshest clothes. Had money every, you know, cars and had the girls and stuff like that. So it's like it was hard. It was hard to face that was just gonna be over just like that. You
Yeah.
know, so that was when I tell people all the time, some of us didn't make it through that era. Some of us had to go and sit down for some years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had to do them bids, and that's what happened to me. So some of us, you know, I rather, when I look back at it, you know, I would have rather been able to come out of it like I did versus having to sit down for 30 or 40
Yeah.
years. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so I can't, I have no regrets, you know, as far as the decision making. We were kids. I tell people all the time also, we were kids at the time. You know, we were kids. We were, you know, in our teens. So look at your kids. You got kids now or grandkids. Look at your kids and their mind, where their mind is. So you got to think about this as a service. Low, there it is.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So, you know, like I was saying, you got to think about the mindset. Look at your child or your grandchild, and they might be 12, 13, 14, and you got access to this money. What what do you think an underdeveloped brain is going to do? You know what I mean? So I tell people all the time, it's hard to, it's not, you can't judge in hindsight. It's easy to talk about something you were doing in hindsight now and be judgmental about it.
Or
But it's,
maybe not even judgment, like someone like, let's just say, like me. A lot of times when I with me, I coming from the side of life, like,
mm-hmm.
right. So I always would wonder about, you know, the boys from my era, because I grew up in '82.
Yeah, yeah.
And know, like, other than was it money? Did your mom not get money? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
would have made a difference to you that made you do something different and not do that? What would could it have been something different that
Yeah, if I definitely not having a father, because I know
okay,
I'm a father, so I know the difference because of what I'm doing with my son. I know what I needed. Now I can really see it having a son, you know, and because I know what if I would have had that, it wouldn't have been none of that because my mother she was working so hard, you know, and she just really wasn't paying attention. Like, you know, she wasn't paying attention. I was getting away with murder, literally, because she was not paying attention. She was working so hard, and she just expected me to, hey, you know better. You see what I'm doing. I'm working hard trying to keep a roof over your head. So I would, you know, in those days when we were growing up, if we saw our mother struggling, you know, we wanted to make money for that too, to help out with the bill. I started helping out with bills when I was 14. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was that type of situation.
was it an expectation?
Nah, it wasn't. You know, but she ain't. My mother's personality is, rest in peace. She passed last year. But it's, I mean, not last year,
Early,
earlier. Well, it was last year. Look, time is going so fast. It was December last
right.
year. So, but she, I think because of my father, the way my father used to do things, she was used to that. So she didn't reject
Right.
anything. In other
Right.
words, you understand what I'm saying? So that's just how it was.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'm not upset with her or anything about like that, but you know, I just wish I would have had that male figure. Other than that, my big homies in the streets that were older, you know, they kept us. It was a difference. You know, it was a village. We had the benefit of the village back then. Where the older homies knew your mother. The mother knew the older homies. If you was doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing, and they felt like you wasn't supposed to be doing, they threatened you. Like, man, I'm gonna let your mother know this. And you know what I mean? It was that type of situation.
Right.
And they made sure we went to school. They wasn't having it. I don't think kids have homework anymore. They made sure we did our homework. blah, blah,
Didn't mess
blah, stuff like that.
up in school, Moo, while you were out in the
Oh,
streets, you
just
finished school?
just fighting. Well, my trouble was always fighting. So I went to 3 different high schools, not by choice. So I started out at Theodore Roosevelt once I graduated from junior high school, and fighting all the time, fighting all the time, fighting all the time at Roosevelt. So Leonard Upson, the principal at the time, you know, I had got good grades. I was always did my work, but I was labeled a troublemaker at the time then. So he was like, he's not a good fit at Roosevelt. You know what I mean? You had to find somewhere else for him to
Yeah.
go. So I got the boot. So my mother was so pissed and embarrassed by that. She made me repeat the 10th grade at Archbishop Carroll. So
Okay.
she really messed up then because that was all boys at the time. Carroll was all boys. This was like '88. I think they went co-ed the next year. So I got up. Carolyn did the same thing, Terry. I was fighting all the time. And in Catholic school, you get demerits. So I had collected up enough demerits to get my ass put out of it. So Mr. Peter said, you got too many demerits, he gotta go. So she got me enrolled at Coolidge. So that's how I got to Coolidge.
Is that
And
rated?
I straightened up at Coolidge. I felt, it must have been, I think it was because first of all, I was tired of being tired. I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I think more of my homies that I grew up with were at Coolidge, per se, that my sandbox homies were at Coolidge.
So,
so,
okay.
so it was a more of a it was more of a fun thing. You know
Right.
what I mean? I ain't had nobody to fight really. Even though you fought your friends back then, but it wasn't like Jokers was trying me up Carroll. Now Roosevelt was the same thing. Roosevelt was good too. A lot of the homies I grew up with was at Roosevelt too, but we had beef with we always had a beef with Michigan Park when we were at Roosevelt.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fights then. But all them dudes, the dudes that made it, we all friends now, and that's why I try to
I
tell the youngest,
love it.
you might not be able to stand, you might think you can't stand somebody now, but y'all, you live on and you can see that, y'all can, life is precious.
Life.
You know?
And it brought y'all full circle.
Yeah.
Said, so you were dumb. Were you a dumb kid? No, he said
At all.
he was smart. He just was
At all.
excited.
Well, never I could read good, I could write good. My mother started putting books in front of me. That's why I know a lot of history because my mother started putting books in front of me when I was like 5. I mean, grown up books, as far as history and just reading about other countries and how politics work and things like that. So I was always a good student. I could. The only thing I wasn't smart in was math, of course, and it took me a long time to get to that, but get better at that because I had.
Right. So school wasn't the issue, like you said. It was just you being a young man without that guy, mom working, doing what you need to do, and
Getting away with it.
right. And
Getting away with it. It was too easy.
then you started then started being like, I like the money. I like, you know what I mean? So you
Mhm.
in that lifestyle with the girls and all that.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Got shot. Someone almost tried to take your life. A year after that, come out of rehab, and
Yeah.
then at that point, Moo, did you know for sure that you were never back to the street, or did you go back?
Nah, that's a great question, Terry. And like I said before, I always worked. I always had a job, no matter what I was doing on the side. So when I got out of the hospital, I went to, DC has so many services, for people in those type of situations. So I went to vocational rehab down on Fifth and Kennedy, in between Fifth and Seventh and Kennedy Street. They had an office called vocational rehab. So I had connections, from working in government in and out, starting out from summer youth program on up.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew somebody that worked in vocational rehab, and they got me a job down at 500 C Street, down at the unemployment headquarters, employment services
Okay.
headquarters at the time. And I started working at 500 C Street, and that's when I ran into one of my mentors, and J.D. Brown, and he said, "You know what, brother? I know your story is great. I want you to start going around and talking to, some of the youth in the city." And this was like 94, 95.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the youth in the city about, what happened to you, and, motivate them, because it wasn't as bad as it is now with the youth, but it was different. It was still trouble going, a lot of violence, but it wasn't it wasn't no carjacking and stuff like
Right.
that going on. So it's just different things for different times. So I started doing that, and then J.D. Brown introduced me to one of my greatest, another great mentor, Al Malik Farrakhan, with Ceasefire. It was just Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers at the time. It's Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers and Sisters now.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got with them, that was it. I mean, we started meeting with the mayor. We started going throughout the community, making sure that it was more of a stop the violence type of situation. So we got we were getting a lot of things done. But guess what, Terry?
What?
It was I still was 1 foot in and
One
1
foot
foot out. So
in, one.
I was pretty much hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
I was more of the type of, do as I say, not as I do.
Yes, I do.
Well, that's what was going on, man. I can be honest and transparent about that. So, and again, I was back in I can get away with this type thing. Don't nobody know what I'm doing, what's going on. So I was hanging out, going over Northeast, and the drug game was at its downfall at the time. But I had a situation where it was sweet. You know what I mean? So I could still make the money.
Right.
I could still make the money, and I was doing it. I was still doing it. And then so many people, some of my good homies started getting killed. People were telling on people all the time, Terry. It was a dark time in the city in those mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just decided, I said, you know what, I can't do it. I can't, because to me, I felt like those were warnings, because there was a lot of people around me getting killed that I was close to.
And you've already been spared once.
I said, I can't do this, not even just for myself. I can't do this for the people that were there for me throughout, especially my mother. My grandmother had, she cut me off pretty much when the first time I got shot. So, I mean, the one time I did. But I just couldn't do it again, Terry.
Because she was disappointed in your life?
Yeah, she was done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? She was done. So I stopped. I stopped her. I just stopped cold turkey, and I just worked. You know what I mean? And I was still helping out whatever I could do. I've always been 10 toes down in the community, so I never stopped. But I just started that, and that's when at that time it was a good time for me too, because the go-go was slowing down how we were used to as far as the go-go, and that wasn't the same. So it helped me. I think what helped me was the way the nightlife started to transition into the clubs more. So started going to the clubs, and those were people from college, Howard University, and schools like that. So it kept me out of that element of it. Oh, I'm gonna see my homies from the block at the go-go.
Yeah.
So that I know that helped me out a lot in my transition to kind of get out of that.
Yeah, you were putting different types of around you.
Yeah, your environment. Environment is everything.
Environment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you just made a decision. So it wasn't like you got locked up or like that.
No, I still be, look, let me tell you, I just, I feel like I was one of the best that ever did it when it came to that. I used to catch the Metro bus. I didn't even drive my car when I was doing stuff. I used to catch the Metro bus to go down where I was going and stuff like that. So, like, you know what I mean? I kind of learned from the best. I consider the best, but some of the older homies, they put me on game when I was real young. So,
Wow.
but other than that, I had to change. I had to change, to truly change, to be able to accomplish the things I needed to
Would
accomplish.
you say that the moment for you was just realizing what was happening around you with people dying? Do you feel like you got fearful that something bad was going to happen to you?
Yeah, I felt like eventually, you know what I was thinking that was going to happen to me next? That the bid. I was like, I already got shot like that, and if I keep going, I didn't even think about me getting shot again. I thought about that
That
bid.
bid.
You know what I mean? And see, and I'm gonna tell you one of the look in '94, my best friend Benny at the time, Benny Lawson, he's the one that went and shot up the police headquarters, and that wasn't even enough for me. That I'm still dealing with trauma from that but Terry now, but at the time that wasn't even enough for me to stop.
That wasn't enough.
That's how strong that can be. You would have to be there to understand. Like, that's how it was. That money was just too good. Because
Like
I would.
it's almost like an addiction.
It
Like
is. It is.
you know,
It is. It is. It's just and I was still young. I was still in my 20s.
right?
So it's like, you know, man, we man, our egos. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on. You know what I mean? I was already feeling, because I wasn't 100% back to my physical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not today. So I was already feeling kind of like down because I couldn't go out on the basketball court and do the things I used to do at the time. So I was like, shit, I really want the money now because I
Right.
gotta look a certain way. I gotta keep up this look and stuff like that. So it was a lot going on. There was a
Wow.
lot going on.
How long did you walk with the cane? How long did that
Oh,
last?
just because I got out probably about 2 months.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you were healed.
Yeah, and I was going to therapy. I was going to outpatient therapy
Okay.
religiously. So, you know what I mean? I made sure because I wanted to get back to the, best I could.
So once that life got completely behind you, never looked back.
Nah, it was over. I was like, I've been there, done that. I'm glad to be where I am. I was satisfied with working for Department of Employment Service, and some things I started having later on in the mid 2000s. I started having girl problems. So I was always meeting the wrong girl, Terry. So you know what I mean? And one of those girls that I met got me locked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Call the police. Told the police. I'm trying to cut it as short as I can because I don't know how much time we had. Cut it. She called the police because she was always thought I was cheating on her. So she would come by my house, just knocking on the door, banging on the door. Sometimes coming to try to look through the window. Always thought I had something going on, which I didn't. For the ladies who probably listen and think, "Oh, he was a cheater." No, I really didn't have anything going on. So look, I long story short, one time she called the police and they came to the house and she told them that I'm a drug dealer. I had drugs and guns in the house. So she knew what to tell them to say something like that. Now I did have guns in the house, but I didn't have drugs in the house. So
Right.
So it was a white police officer and a black police officer. The white police officer, you know, they were playing good cop, bad cop with me. The white police officer was trying to, you know, man, he wasn't listening to her really. Black police officer, sadly, wanted to get in the house. He asked me, could he come in the house? I said, for what? I know my, you know, I know my rights. I know no, I had to let you in my house because of that, especially. And I said, nah, man, y'all have a good night or whatever. So I'm looking out the window to, you know, I'm trying to have a peaceful night. The police car still sitting outside for a long time. Yeah, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours almost. They come back after about a couple of hours, and the black police officer knock on the door. They had an emergency search warrant.
What?
Yeah, they had an emergency search warrant, sir. So I had to let them in, and I had some guns in the house, but they were handguns and they was clean. But I had them. Back then the laws were different, so you couldn't have handguns. Period. Back then in DC,
Okay.
you had to have either a shotgun, rifle, or something like that in your house. So you know, and it was a difference if you were riding, got caught outside of the house with a handgun, you getting a mandatory 5 years. That's when that law was going on. I'm not sure if it still is. But they came in, got the gun out the safe because I had them in the safe, but the safe wasn't locked because if I needed them, I didn't want to have to open my safe. You know what I'm saying? For emergency, they was for protection in the house, so I didn't have my safe locked. But I'm not expecting the police to be in my house anyway. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? So they got the guns, they locked me up. I had to go through that. I got off because if you had guns in the house, it was a misdemeanor. The guns were clean. It was a misdemeanor.
Okay.
Right? So I got off that. So frustration, long story short, I decided to write a book. This was my first book, and I got with a old friend of mine. She was already an author, and she was, you know, teaching me the ropes about the book stuff. So we just wrote the book together.
Wow.
And yeah, we wrote the book together, and it was called "Now Pronounce You Single and Happy." So I wrote the book about, you know, that look, you don't just pick anybody to be in a relationship with. You can be happy single until you find the right one. It was that type of
Okay.
book,
Was
right?
that
Yeah, so you know that went over well. You know, it was Amazon bestseller, of course, and stuff like that. So that was
wow?
fun. And then me and her fell out. The girl I wrote the book with, and that's when I was doing a show. I was doing a radio show at Listen Vision. You know what Listen
Yeah,
Vision
I'll show you.
at the time. Yeah, yeah. So that was like 2014, and that's when I met Yvette, my wife. So once I met her, that was it.
That
You
was
know,
it.
I met my best friend right there. You know what I mean? So we
Yes.
started doing everything together. So that's how we got where we are now.
Yes.
That was nine when we got married in 15. So that was 9 years ago. So you know what I mean? So
And
yeah,
for those of you all who don't know, I mean, I happen to know his amazing wife. She is such an amazing woman.
yeah,
And puts up with Moose. She puts up with Moo.
yeah,
And keeps him
absolutely.
straight. Um, one of the questions was, did they ever find the person who tried to take your life and keep
I have to
no,
answer that.
you don't have to. You say,
No, he's no longer with
okay.
us.
Um,
Yeah.
and so Moo, all of that is behind you. What I like to ask now is, what do you tell the 13-year-old Mustafa if you had an opportunity right now, knowing everything
Oh,
you know right now?
oh man, there's so many things. The main thing I would tell the 13-year-old Mustafa is just uh stay focused on like one job. Like I tell my son now, I got him working there because I worked at the grocery store from a very young age. I worked at Giant,
Mm-hmm.
and you could retire from Giant.
You sure?
You understand what I'm saying? Giant is the bomb. You know what I mean? It's still right. So that's one of my regrets. I would tell my 13-year-old self, just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay at work, and whatever comes on the side that's legal, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, entrepreneurship and you know, just trying to figure it out. Just go if you want to go to school. The sky is the limit at that time. So in sports, you know, things like that, I would tell my younger self to just stay focused on the right things. I always think about Terry if how I believe we would be a Wakanda in DC if the crack epidemic. You ever think about the crack epidemic that never happened?
I know, right?
I mean, it would be so many intelligent, black, progressive people because it still is now, even with that happened. So it's like, can you? I just always, it's just one of my thoughts that I think about. You know, and it makes me tear up sometimes because there's so much loss
Yeah.
from that, and then it's just the evolution. Our evolution was and our revolution was you know, it was ceased. It was a cease and desist when that crack epidemic hit. You know, because we were on our way.
Yeah.
We were on our
I know.
way to I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine where we would be.
It's a whole nother show, whole nother type of show to talk about how
Mm-hmm.
that crack epidemic hit
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
us, us black brown, we grow cocaine. We don't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
like I said, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah.
nother um, I just want to say how great you're telling me yes.
Yeah, oh, of course,
Grateful
Terry.
for your testimony. Your testimony means a lot to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a little bit about your story, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know all the ins and outs, and
Yeah,
know that you really you being alive is like a miracle.
it is, and it is, and I've lost, you know, now I've lost my mother, I've lost my sister, and it is, you know, my father's still alive. You know, I've made my peace with him. He's in a nursing home in
Oh,
D.C.
oh, really?
I found him. Terry, it's crazy. I found my father because my mother was in the same nursing home. Yeah. The people that work there saw the name, and they're not supposed to do this. But the lady, that's why I'm not mentioning which nursing home it is. But the lady that worked in the nursing home, she couldn't hold it. She could not hold it, and she said how much I look like him, and she said, "You know your father's in here, right?" And I went up to him. I went up to see him. Yeah, yeah. So I made my peace with him recently. You know, recently within this last year.
And he's still alive?
Yes, yeah. He's still pushing. He's still pushing. You know what I mean? So, but you know he has you know early on dementia, the onset. You know, but he's doing well otherwise. You know, and I told him I love him. I told him I love him, and I forgive him because you just never know. The way I feel now, you know, but you don't know what people were going through at those times, especially. But I know nothing could keep me away from my son. Even if me and the mother are not getting along, whatever, they would have to lock me up to keep me away from my son. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I was, and I told him I was angry at him about that, even though he might not even understand what I'm saying all the time. That you know, but at the same time, it was good to be able to speak that to him and let him know how I felt. And I told him I forgive him, I love him, and you know, I take care of him pretty much from out from here, from you know, from afar. And when I get up there to see him,
That
so
brings me to family reconciliation is big to me. Even
yeah,
I don't know. There's something that even when people don't deserve our love, I feel like I feel like we requirement, we have the ability, those of us who have that light inside, to recognize people. Your dad probably did what he knew how to do.
exactly,
People have what
Exactly.
they have and what they don't have it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you love him and that
Mm-hmm.
you're alive. You still have opportunity, like you said, to put forgiveness in you for
Mm-hmm.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Life.
you just never know, and I know how I know how my mother was. I laugh about it when I think about it. My mother might have been driving them crazy, at the time. So, I don't know what happened, you know
You
what I mean? But
don't.
yeah,
And I'm just so thankful though that you have had an opportunity to reconcile and
yes,
have enough space in your heart for him.
absolutely,
I'm so
absolutely.
glad for that.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling because, not only is he the only parent I have now, it's like, what would I still be angry? What could I still be? I'm a grown man. I didn't made it.
You made
I made it. Like I'm a grown man now. So it's
it.
like what I'm not gonna harbor that. That would just be
Yeah,
silly.
yeah.
And I would and as far as mental health, men's mental health, that's something serious. It's a lot of us that harbor uh, some serious anger, what I mean, and issues, just like men say that women got daddy issues. Dudes have mommy and daddy issues as well.
They
You know
do.
what I mean? So yeah, if we able to confront it and talk about it and talk it out, you never know who might have been through it that can help you out or give you some advice.
That's
So I would suggest that everyone does that, especially if you come from a single parent household, because you have when you're a kid, you're not thinking about what's going on, but when you get older, you really want to know what happened. And I really do wish he could respond to me to the point where he could tell me what actually happened, because I know he would at this
right.
point, you
He
know.
will. He,
Yeah.
but again, we're going to take the small win in that he is still here with us.
Yep.
You are able to communicate with him at some and care.
Exactly.
Ooh, I, what was that?
Yeah.
I was like, what was
Yeah.
but so good. This was so good. Listen, for those
Thank you, Terry.
who are watching, it's very hard to keep up with your comment engage in episodes. What I like to do is try to go back and look at it later, but I still can't figure out once a live is done how you go back and look at that. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
on both of my pages, on my page as well as my Triumph page. We'll also be editing so that I can upload the actual in Mustafa
Okay.
my YouTube channel. So if you all know someone who has an amazing Triumph story, please send them my way. Booking dates for live to do it every week, every 9 p.m. and take on a journey like we did tonight of a real life story of trauma to triumph. I'm so
Absolutely.
you, Mustafa. It's
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Terry. And it felt good being able to talk. I don't think I haven't done a lot of interviews anyway, period. But to be able to, I've never actually got that out like I did with you tonight. So
thank you
I'm
so much.
grateful. I'm grateful.
Thank you. I even shared, laughed, I cried,
Yeah, yeah.
really, really good. And I pray someone on here has been by his story. If you have no young men out there now, teenagers now are wild. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them out there. We need all of us. It takes us
Absolutely. The village. We need. I
all of
say it all the time, Terry. That village is everything. I'm
yeah.
telling you, and we need it back.
And
And let me let you know ahead of time that because we did this, I'm not going to feel sorry for you when we're competing with each other. So
I want
don't.
a rematch. I want a rematch. So I'm gonna say and Jafani, we need a rematch because I am am a sore loser.
No, but my partner was vicious though, sir.
I know. And I tell them that I don't want no songs from the 2000s.
Yeah, you know, me, I can't do that.
90s.
Yeah. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank you, Terry.
Back again next Tuesday, you all, at 9:00 p.m. with another story of Triumph. My website again, www.triumph2triumphdoc.com. And please, if you have a great story, send them to me so we can get them scheduled.
Yeah, y'all have a good night. Thanks for having me again, Terry. We'll be talking soon. All right, bye-bye.